It's been a very interesting month for Mizkif. In case you guys don't know, I talked about this. Mizkif was trying to frame Asmongold as a racist by saying that the N-word was his password. Then Emiru responded to the leaks, and I literally just noticed this. So if you're a YouTuber, you have the YouTuber creator app thingy, and you get notified when verified people comment. But I just noticed that Mizkif left a comment under one of my videos. Mizkif, if you're watching this, hello. I'm a fan. Can we please collab? Wanna go get Boba with me and Hassan? It's been a very bad month for Mizkif. He made his weird video talking about Emiru and the lawsuit and how she's lying. Some stuff ain't adding up. It's a very messy situation. A lot of allegations going around back and forth. And if you guys remember, Asmongold was getting sued as well. That is why he couldn't talk about the N-word situation until a few days ago. Mizkif just got destroyed. He got his cheeks slapped in 4K in front of the judge because he lost. He lost his lawsuit with Asmongold.
He's the guy who has brought this claim against the plethora of people that he thinks have wronged him. Now, of course, amongst those, of course, the prime defendant here is Emiru, who is not off the hook. But even with Emiru, her chances of winning seem to be going up based on the latest filing and what happened. And of course, we have the Roach King over here in his glorious rainbow shirt. He was a defendant in this case, but now things have changed in his favor. What went down in this latest ruling from the judge in this case? Well, let's look at the exact text here, and this is fascinating. So they go on to say, the judge says, plaintiff, that's Mizkif, claims that the word involving in an SA dispute definition is so broad as to make the EFAA's treatment of SH and SA entirely different. So he's trying to break those things out for his own benefit to make his case. However, both definitions contain broad language involving, related to, but neither sweeps so broadly as to mean the person alleging conduct constituting an SH dispute or SA dispute, i.e. the person who may elect to avoid arbitration is in fact the person accused of or denying either SA or SH. Now, this is huge. What this is saying is that the perpetrator, right, the person who is being accused of perpetrating, the person who is not the victim here, but the person who is alleged, right, there's an allegation here out there, that person can use it to their benefit. The law was constructed to help the victim, not the perpetrator, but the construction that Mizkif wants, he wants this arbitration prevention to work for him as a person who was, once again, allegedly by Emiru in her quote-unquote emotional truth, the perpetrator.
Now, let me just say this. I'm not a lawyer. And the reason why I always say that is because then people are like, you are wrong. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I've never in a million years claimed to be an expert. I'm not a lawyer. I don't wear a suit, all right? I'm not wearing a suit as I'm making this video. So I'm not a real lawyer. Because then people are like, well, you said they were going to lose. And I'm like, well, I'm just reacting to legal mindset, and I said that I'm not an expert. It could go either way. I don't know the law. Yes, it is true that I wanted to go to law school before I went into another career, but I very seriously considered becoming a lawyer. So in another universe, Sense is a lawyer, and I am talking about streamers, a lawyer in another universe, guys. But we're not here to talk about my future. We're here to talk about the situation with Emiru and Mizkif, which I stand by with what I said about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, when the Emiru leaks and the Asmongold leaks were going on. I think these two people are legitimately in middle school. They have middle school mentality. They're extremely toxic and they need to grow the fuck up. I think they were both extremely toxic for each other. And if you ask me, do I feel bad that he lost his lawsuit? No, not really. I mean, the credibility for the Emiru lawsuit was stronger than the Asmongold. I don't think suing Asmongold was a good move. Bro just talked about the situation. Don't watch Asmongold every single day. I don't watch any live streamers, so I don't know. Maybe he did something out of pocket, but as far as I know, he really didn't deserve to get sued. I thought that was pretty pity of Mizkif to do. Well, it didn't really go his way.
They go out to say that we're going to reject that argument and take up the recommendation of the magistrate judge, Susan Hightower, who gave her recommendations earlier this month. So if you look into this, it says that they adopt the recommendations. So it's ordered that OTK, Mythic, King, their motion to compel arbitration is granted. So they win. So Mythic, OTK, and King, they're getting what they want, which is arbitration. So they're taking a win there. Next, it says litigation of counts 1 and 3 of their complaint is stayed. So that's the counts that related to OTK, Mythic, King. So those are stayed pending the arbitration. So now it's got to go to arbitration as to OTK, Mythic, and King. Because once again, Mizkif can't use this to get out of arbitration. It also says, and here's the catch, that defendant Shunk, that's Emiru's motion to dismiss, is denied. So Emiru does take an L here, and Mizkif does get a tiny W, but there's a but, and you've always got to read the but. But plaintiff Misriendo, that's Mizkif, shall submit a more definite statement on or before August 10th. So we're going to have, in just a week or two, or 2 weeks, Raul, at this point, we're going to have him coming forward with this, identifying each statement that Emiru said which alleges to be defamatory. So he's going to have to go and pick out every single specific statement, including exact quotes from her live stream. So before, Mizkif was being vague, saying that, oh, I've been defamed, etc., but he wasn't saying this exactly is the thing. And the judge is agreeing with what we actually said previously on this stream, what others have said, what Asmon said as well, which is, what exactly did these people say, Asmon, Emiru, etc., what did they say that is defamatory? Now, Asmon, as we're going to see, is out of this, but even as to Emiru, the judge needs more than what Mizkif has given so far.
Yeah, I truly do think this lawsuit was pretty lame, pretty pointless. This is something that you could have responded to. And had you not being an idiot, it could have probably worked itself out eventually. Because for better or for worse, everyone moves on. Like, you can literally become EDP. Yes, EDP 445, the cupcake lover. You can literally become him and still have fans. But I guess don't hate the player, hate the game, the rules, whatever the fuck the saying is. He still has fans. He still gets thousands of likes on Instagram, and he had a pretty big following on TikTok years after the whole cupcake and meeting with the minor stuff. So I think if Mizkif would have locked the fuck in and he would have put out a good video talking about the situation, not his shitty stream that literally happened minutes after Emiru talked about her experience with Mizkif, had he chilled the fuck out, looked at the game plan and been like, okay, so I'm gonna say this, okay, maybe that should clear things up, it would have been a lot different. Let me say this one more time for the people in the back. I am not a lawyer. I'm just an idiot speculating. And that idiot speculating says, I don't think it's going to go Mizkif's way. I don't think it's going to work out for him. But I could be wrong, and maybe Emiru loses. I don't know. I'm not a fucking lawyer. I'm just reacting to this video, and I'm giving my opinion. He already lost 1 out of 2. Well,
then he's got to say, how is it untrue? Because if a statement is true, then, well, it can't be defamatory. And the last part is how it harms him. So even if he's able to say, okay, here's a quote, this is not true, but if it has no harm, then it's not going to be something that's going to be actionable, right? So now he's got to jump through all of these hurdles, even with Emiru. So while he gets that W, he's got to put in work, him and his lawyers, to go through with each statement and say exactly how that harms him. And that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for him. And let's see how his lawyers and him come up with that response. The other thing here is that Asmon gets the win. It's finally ordered that defendant Hoyt's amended motion to dismiss count is granted. So boom, Asmon gets the W. However, it's dismissed without prejudice, and that's signed July 10th by Robert Pittman, U.S. District Judge. So just in case you guys don't know, and this is very important for you guys to understand with any legal case, there's with prejudice and without prejudice. In the legal context, without prejudice really means without loss or waiver or any right or privileges. So in this case, that means that it is possible, theoretically, hypothetically, it is possible that Mizkif could refile later against Asmongold. So while Asmongold's case is dismissed, it is possible, if there were some new facts or something else came out, or there was some discovery that came out, it is possible that he could come back and try to swing against Asmon again.
Why would he do that? I mean, maybe legal mindset, we'll talk about it, but I'm just like, What is there to gain from this? Like, you would expect someone as big as Mizkif, you would expect him to know which battles to choose. Why do this? Like, I get it, Asmongold is not everyone's cup of tea. That's completely fine. I'm not the biggest fan of him. I mean, truth be told, I feel indifferent. What is the point of suing him? But maybe I'm missing a chapter. Maybe I'm missing context. I could kind of see why you would sue Emiru, but Asmongold?
I don't think that's a wise choice. I don't think that's going to be a winning strategy. But of course, we don't know yet. There may be more discovery where he'll try to find a fact and come against Asmon again. So let's turn over to my judgment here. So in judgment, Asmongold has been completely cleared at this point, right? Until we get, until and unless there's more secret facts out there, there's something we don't know, Asmongold's off the hook. And then Mizkif now needs to specifically go through, do the work with his lawyers, and explain how each statement was defamatory, how it was false, and how it harms him. That's going to be a significant hurdle for Mizkif.
That sounds fucking boring and miserable to do. If I had to do that, I would just drop the lawsuit. I'd be like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I don't even know how much money Mizkif has spent on this. We all know how expensive the legal system is.
Once again, you never know with cases. They can take wild and crazy turns. So I want to be conservative here in my assessment, saying, yes, it is possible that Mizkif could find some facts and come against Asmongold again. It's possible he could prevail against Emiru. But at this point, his window for victory is narrowing. It's becoming harder and harder for Mizkif. And this is the point at which I would say to Mizkif, are you really committed to taking this all the way, or would a settlement really make you happy, bro? Would you be okay with some form of settlement, maybe an Emiru apology saying, hey, I framed this in a bad way. I shouldn't have said this way. Maybe I should have framed this in a different way, right? Maybe it shouldn't have been my emotional truth. Maybe I should have framed this in a more objective and neutral way. Maybe something like that, a settlement, maybe a payment. Who knows?
If I gotta say neutral, I think that is the best thing that Mizkif could do. You know, you lost this battle. We all win some, we all lose some. As a non-lawyer guy, as just a guy with a microphone, a dude with an opinion, if you will, I would settle, try to figure something out, because if I don't, I'm going to lose everything. So yeah, I would just take the L and just settle. I mean, that's what common sense tells me, because what if you lose? You already lost one. What if you lose the other one and then you're cooked and you could have gotten something, but now you got nothing and everyone thinks you're what people are calling you and then some. Not a good day to be Mizkif. He lost, and he might possibly lose the Emiru lawsuit, but I guess time will tell. I'm not going to predict anything because I predicted stuff and I've been wrong, so I'm not going to predict stuff. I'm just here for the tea. Yeah, I think I've said everything I wanted to say. Yeah, any updates? I'll talk about it here. Sans is locking back in. With that said, see ya.